Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and this is Bria Makes Art, and today we're going to be doing some draw along as I work on the Inktober prompt list for 2024. As you saw last week, I got started on the prompt list and I was a little bit behind on my prompts. I am now a day ahead and I'm going to continue to work at whatever pace makes sense for me. If I get a few days ahead, that's awesome. That means that if something comes up later in the week, I can take a day off and not have to worry about falling too far behind. I am definitely not putting the same amount of effort into all of the sketches. Some of them I'm going a little bit more ham on, and other ones I'm just kind of taking it real easy and drawing something real quick and calling it good. I'm okay with that because some of the prompts I just wasn't as inspired by, and I didn't really feel like putting a lot of effort into them, and the point that I got them to I was pretty happy with and didn't feel like continuing to put more effort into it because I didn't really think it was going to improve it that much. This year's prompt list is all kind of centered around travel and adventure, and a lot of people are not happy with it because it is kind of repetitive. We have things like trek and roam and road and expedition and nomadic, like things like that, that kind of all can make you think of the same thing when you first see it. So unless you kind of skim through the entire list to figure out like, okay, this prompt is this, let me see if there's something else later that fits that prompt that like kind of immediately comes to mind, like roam, for example. My first thought there was a road, but on day 27, the prompt is road. So I didn't want to do that. And a lot of people are not happy about that, and I totally get it. I'm not terribly bothered by that now that I know that that's a thing, because it is forcing me to be a little bit more creative when I do come across one of those prompts that is repeated later or has like the same kind of connotation later, so I can kind of skim through and go, oh, okay, you know, my first thought is this, let me see if there's something else that my first thought is that or like fits that other prompt better. So it's forcing me to be a little bit more creative on some of the prompts, but I am really enjoying that a lot of the prompts are kind of, here's the thing that you draw, because honestly, that's what I was looking for this year, was something that was like, draw this thing. Great, I will go draw that thing. Not a problem. Partially because I didn't want to spend a ton of time trying to be super creative about like how to interpret the prompts. So, you know, we've got things like backpack, boots, binoculars, etc. Like those are just objects that I can draw, and that's not a big deal. I'm liking it because it is allowing me to do some simpler sketches and some things that I don't have to spend a ton of time trying to figure out what I want to draw in order to meet that prompt. I said last video that part of the reason I was doing Inktober was to work on my inking skills, but another part of the reason is to just get back into the habit of drawing into my sketchbook more often, because I am quite a bit behind on my page goal for like the month. I was supposed to have been like 4 or 5 pages further along than I am right now. But I've been traveling a lot for work, so I didn't really have a lot of time to spend in my sketchbook. I took it with me on my travels, but just ended up not pulling it out too much. So, you know, doing Inktober is a really good chance for me to work in my sketchbook. And as you can see, some of my sketches I have left in pencil and other ones I have inked. Partially that's because I really liked how they turned out in pencil and I didn't want to ruin it by inking it. But also partially because I really liked how the page looked with some of the sketches remaining in pencil and some of them in ink. So I was like, you know what? I like how this looks. I'm just going to leave it. If I want to come back and revisit that sketch later, I can always do so. I can always kind of like recreate it later and try and ink it later. But, you know, I'm liking how some of these are looking just in pencil in my sketchbook. Another kind of problem that I'm having is I am mainly using the Tombow Funasuki brush pen, which I really like, but this one is like super inky, which is giving me much bolder lines than I want to have all of the time. I have pulled out this Micron 01 a couple of times to put in some thinner lines, but I'm not feeling like getting out like a whole set of fine liners to do like full-on illustrations. So That's another reason why I'm leaving some of them in pencil, because some of them would require much finer lining, and I'm not getting that with this particular one. And I think that this is probably like the softer nib. I know that there's a hard nib and a soft nib. I think this is the softer nib one. So it's kind of flexing a little bit more and giving me bolder lines than I really want. And that would not work with some of the sketches that I have. I will say that doing Inktober this year has shown me how much I have grown in terms of being able to draw different things in space, especially kind of more constructed things like binoculars and wagons and that sort of thing, because a lot of those require you to kind of turn like a cylinder in space and understand how that's going to get morphed as it gets turned in space. And I've figured out that I actually do understand that pretty well, and I was able to draw a couple of kind of more technical things, more three-dimensional things, much easier than I have been able to in the past, and actually get them to line up and not look so wonky. So I'm really happy to see that progress, and it's kind of fun to just like do a more simple prompt list like this and be able to see that growth, especially just kind of looking over the past 4 years, which is kind of when I started sketching again regularly. It's really kind of cool and fun to just see how much I've grown. As much as I am enjoying doing Inktober, I do know that it is not something that I would be able to maintain for a long period of time, because needing to draw something every day for like 31 days and follow this prompt list and so on and so forth can be pretty draining, especially if you end up getting behind or aren't sure what to draw, or you don't like what you drew, etc., etc. So I'm trying really hard to be very gentle on myself with what I've drawn, and some of my things are very, very simple, and like I said, I am totally okay with that. I'm just like, you know what? This is one of those days where I'm not going to be drawing anything terribly involved, terribly in depth, and that's okay. And as I mentioned in the previous video, if I end up skipping a day, I'm not going to be terribly hard on myself. I'm going to try not to be very hard on myself anyway, though I do tend to be one of those people that's like, hey, you said you were going to do this thing, you didn't do all of it, you failed. So I'm going to try very hard not to be like that on myself. And so if there is a day that I'm just like, I have no idea, or there's nothing that I really want to draw, I'm going to try to allow myself to skip it, though we'll see if that actually happens. Are any of you guys doing any drawing challenges this month? If so, which ones are you doing? Are you doing Inktober or Drawtober or any of the other ones? I did find a couple that were mentioned. There's this World Away by, this is Spelltober 2024, and it's all kind of like fantasy themed things like castle, forest, village, carriage, banner, jewel, etc. I printed it out and stuck it in my sketchbook because I might pull this out and use it as just kind of a random drawing prompt list. There's also a Planttober that's on Kara, which is kind of a replacement for Instagram for artists, and it's all just different plants, which I thought was kind of fun. And again, I printed out that prompt list as well, and I'm sticking it in my sketchbook just for future, so that if I'm like, I don't know what to draw, I can just kind of pull out one of those prompt lists and maybe grab something from there just to kind of get me started on what to draw in my sketchbook. When you guys are drawing in your sketchbook, what do you like to use? Do you like to draw in pen or pencil? Do you like kind of a mechanical pencil or a traditional pencil? Do you like colored pencils? I like to draw in colored pencils sometimes, but I definitely like this mechanical colored pencil. This is the Pilot Color Eno. This is not sponsored or anything, but I got some of these a while ago and I really like them. I like the lead in them. The pencil itself is really nice too. But the lead is kind of soft, so it, lays down a lot of color, so I get to see it really well. And you can get some nice thin light lines as well if you're just a little bit more light-handed with it. But I really like it. I really like the blue and the purple especially. Unfortunately, I've run out of the purple lead, so I need to order myself some more of that. But I got a bunch of this dark blue and I like the color. In past sketchbooks, I've used a lot of mechanical pencils with just kind of regular lead in them, and I really enjoy doing that. I like that better than a regular wood pencil because I don't have to stop and sharpen it and worry about having a sharpener and taking care of the shavings, etc. I know that there are a ton of really nice drawing pencil sets out there, and I actually have a couple of drawing pencil sets, and I've used them somewhat, but I don't know, it's just a little bit more fussy than I want to be typically when I'm working in my sketchbook. And I don't do a lot of blending with like the little blending stumps or tortillons or whatever you call them in order to blend things out, though I know that you can get some really nice soft blends and soft kind of shading and that sort of thing with it. I just haven't really played a whole lot with them, and so I don't think to grab them. I actually have one in my little bag of tools that I just put a little eraser on the end so that I've got a nice eraser that I can just kind of grab and use instead of having like one of the white erasers. I do have a kneaded eraser in here as well that I sometimes grab. But it's just kind of nice to have that in there. And if I do want to blend something out, I can. One of the things about the colored pencil, mechanical colored pencil, is it blends a little bit that way, but not a whole lot. More of a lead pencil works better that way. I've also been playing a little bit with these zebra fountain pens. I know that there are a bunch of people that are super kind of avid fountain pen users, and I've got like a set of these in a bunch of different colors, and I thought, you know what, it'll be fun to just kind of use that. So I've used that for a couple of drawings just to kind of play with it and get used to using a fountain pen. These are, I think they are refillable. I'm not 100% sure. But they're kind of nice to use. I think I just would rather use a regular pen, though. I do like the Tombow Funasuki brush pens a lot, just because I don't have to fuss with it. With the fountain pens, there's kind of, sometimes I have an issue with holding it at the wrong angle, the ink is not coming out right, etc. So they're just a little bit fussier than I kind of want. I want just the ink to come out when I put the pen down on the paper. So sometimes that doesn't really happen with some of the fountain pens that I've tried. Maybe I'm using them wrong. Maybe I just have bad fountain pens. If you have any advice on that, I would love to hear it. Also, if there's anything that you are dying to see me or somebody else try out, let me know in the comments below. I would be interested to just kind of see what other things are out there that people are kind of curious about, and maybe I have some here or maybe I'd have to go buy it. But let me know if there's anything that you want to see me try and kind of get my opinion on. Also, let me know if you like these Draw With Me videos. I can try and do more of them if you like them. I haven't done a whole lot of them, partially because it sometimes takes me several days to finish an entire spread, which is part of the reason why it takes me so long to kind of finish a sketchbook. But I wasn't sure if it was unsatisfying to watch me just draw a couple of things and not necessarily see me finish an entire spread and then get to see an entire spread at the end. Or if you just like to sit and watch somebody draw, and if they finish entire spread, awesome. If not, that's cool too. Thanks so much for joining me while I worked in my sketchbook on some of the last Inktober prompts. I think we got 3 of them done in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the last page with 4 different prompts on there because I don't feel like editing one of them out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give a comment, a like, a subscribe. Any of those would be make me super happy. Anyway, let's go ahead and get right into that final result. And here we go with the final result. This is the page, and I'm hiding the other page because I don't want to give too much away, but I've got days 11, 13, 14, and 15 on here. Day 12 is on the other page that I am hiding, but we've got snacks here, so I got this nice little charcuterie board, and then you watched me drawing horizon. And this was just kind of a made-up scene here, and I decided to color in the water with my pencil, as well as put a little color in the clouds because I just felt like it needed something there. And then we've got day 15. It was guidebook, but I wrote brochure. And so what I drew is kind of more like a brochure than a guidebook, but I think it would work for either. And then we've got day 14, Rome. And you saw me drawing this, but you probably didn't see a really good view of it. And I think it looks pretty good. I really like how the colored pencil kind of peeks through underneath the ink on some of these. I think it just kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more alive and active. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Bye.